Okay, let's go. Day number 36. And as you know, in this series, I'm sharing how I'm running paid ads for my social media marketing agency, and I'm showing you what works, what doesn't. And the topic of today is the following, and that is, in most cases, the more calls you have, the more money you will make. And I think this makes total sense however you actually look at it. It's just like thinking, if you send more job applications, let's say, right? You just finished college, you're just looking for a role or job, whatever. What's the key to actually get one? Well, get in contact with people who might actually need your help, right? So it's a volume game. However, it's also about making sure that you're going the right direction, right? So this is where you actually have to balance the two things, because at one point, yeah, you can get calls, right? Just like I'm doing right now with running paid ads. You can start a bunch of conversations, and that's what I'm actually doing, but you also have to look at the quality of those conversations, because there's also an opportunity cost. So for example, you can spend your money and your time on ads, on conversations with people, or for example, you could spend that same amount of money, that same amount of time on something else, such as maybe an event, a real life event, because that's where you would actually create deeper connections. So that could be a better option. Another thing would be LinkedIn DMs. And this is something that has been working to some extent for myself. I've also had an appointment setter until today, but unfortunately it didn't work out. Even though I think it is one of the more important roles nowadays to actually have someone who sends messages for you. But of course, you can also do it because the week is long enough, I would say, that you can dedicate 4 hours, 8 hours to actually doing this. So if you get an appointment setter, you definitely need to get one that is actually able to enhance what you would be doing, right? Meaning that you would maybe have calls at that time, and then that appointment setter would actually do another thing at that exact time, right? Because especially in the B2B world, you have, let's say, the 9 to 5 p.m. as the ideal ranges, so 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's when people are at work, they might be on LinkedIn, they might be checking their email. So there are a few key details that you need to take into consideration. But of course, like with anything, you might email someone, a founder, on Saturday, Sunday, and you would actually get a reply sometimes because the founder would be working then too. So it depends, right? This is where there is some randomness and variability to life in general. But if you are always out there, like right now, look at me, like you are looking at me probably or listening to me. I'm basically showing up daily here on YouTube. I'm also sending connection requests on LinkedIn. I also have paid ads running. I also have cold email. So what is the likelihood of me having more conversations? Slightly higher, because I am basically in the game, right? And I would say, if someone would ask me how I'm able to do all of this, I mean, it is also about making sure that you have your life organized, right? Because if you're wondering what you will eat later, then you'll waste mental bandwidth that you could have used for something else. And it's actually the same for me right now. Like, I'm having a bunch of, sometimes let's call them useless conversations, but the alternative, what would it be? To play some kind of video game? Would it be to enjoy Netflix? And even that, I just used the word enjoy, right? That would presuppose that sending DMs and doing other things like this are not enjoyable. But of course they can be, right? Because even right now, I do have music in the background. I'm not sure how to call it because it's basically some kind of remix from a Dragon Ball song from a very, very, very long time. So yeah, it's just basically background music that I enjoy listening to because it does have a more energetic vibe to it, right? And it's just like, if you are sad and listening to sad music, why are you actually doing it? Because you will be even sadder. Like, if that's the goal, yeah, you're doing a great job. But if it's not, then you shouldn't do it. So coming back to our main subject, having more conversations, either DMs, calls. Even last night I had basically 2 calls. One of them was actually from paid ads, and the guy I was talking with was actually really interested. Like, he actually DM'd me to, all right, let's start, and so on. Excuse me. But first we would need to fix his website. So I had to make a connection with someone else, and after he would have a website, then I might be able to actually help with ads, right? Because it's a process. That's why it's really important to have connections, friends, because, for example, I can do paid ads, but I can't do CRO, right? Like, I'm aware when someone is way above in terms of skill, and some things you could learn, such as creating some landing pages. You could probably learn that faster, especially, and with ChatGPT you would be able to create the content faster nowadays. But then with other things such as CRO, using new tools, Microsoft Clarity, Hotjar, and all of this, then you do get into the more advanced, I would say, zone, right? Let's call it the zone. And there are levels for sure. Like, that's why you have to do different things when you work with a $100 per day ad spend on Meta versus 1K per day versus 5K per day, 10K per day, or 100K if we're talking about Black Friday and so on, right? So with all of that being said, let me show you some of the stats here, because I did start a few conversations again, if I'm not mistaken. Let me show you if they are actually appearing here in Instagram as coming from ads. Are they? No, they are not. Interestingly enough, they are not appearing as being from ads. And I actually have to reply to someone who messaged me 20 hours ago, but we did have a call scheduled. He didn't want to have the call, he wanted to text, which is slower. Like, I mean, as an introvert, I like texting more, usually. But in terms of efficiency and everything else, it's not the best. By the way, I just bought some Google today because the stock felt, has fallen. Is that how you say it? Because yeah, it's like past tense. I'm not sure if it's still down, but this is not investment advice. But yeah, I don't think Google is going anywhere overall with all of the Waymo stuff it's doing and so on. So without further ado, let's switch the camera and look at the Meta ad account. All right, so this is going to be short and sweet. I'm just going to show you what has happened yesterday, 4th of February. So $20 in ad spend, just Canada and US right now. And as you can see, 7 link clicks, and the cost per click finally has been going down. So as you can see, 2.92. So it's under $3, which is great. And if we look at the ad account, let me see, is it the correct one? Yeah. So this is yesterday. And if we look at today, so basically we just have IGDM ads right now, and the CPMs are around $30, 9 clicks. All right. It does seem like we're getting more clicks, and they are actually a mix, 5 from USA, 4 from Canada. So that's interesting. So as you can see, maybe the algorithm is getting better. We'll have to see. Let's look at the stats here. So what's the amount spent? So it's on primarily men, 25, 45, which I think is great. This is definitely my demographic, maybe this one as well. I mean, in terms of a younger audience, I think it's actually easier, because especially if you are, let's say, at this stage, right? If you have more experience in general, it's actually easier to help the beginners, especially if you have some kind of program. But yeah, I was just thinking if you might need some kind of course or just consulting, there are many ways to help beginners. However, in most cases, I would say that you would want to work with someone who is not necessarily a beginner, but they already know what they are doing. So that's pretty much everything from here. So let's switch the camera. All right, so here for the final words, which are have more calls, have more conversations. I mean, it's just logic, right? If you want to make more money, which most of us probably do, of course, we want to do it in a way that's not going to lead us to burnout. It's not mega stressful, but still, I think we still need to push ourselves, because otherwise we don't know what we are even capable of. And most of us can really push much harder. Like, for example, I've never had a day where, let's say, I've had 8 calls in a day, right? And actually, it's been a long time since I've been to an event. And for example, at home, things are, I would say, calmer. So it's actually easier for the nervous system to feel safe and so on, right? But for example, if I go to an event, after 4 hours, like the body is already to some extent exhausted, especially if I discuss with other people and so on, right? Because it's much more brain activity. Of course, it doesn't mean that after 4 hours it's done, right? Like, you can still go another 4 hours. You can also go and drink after that. So it can still be a long day, but the amount of energy that you need to expand even for those, let's say, 2 or 3 hours of socializing, sometimes they are way above sitting in front of your computer for 8 hours, right? And we still need to balance things, because in most cases we do most of our work from our computer, especially if it's like chatting or even having calls, and especially data and Facebook ads. So that's pretty much it for today's video. Basically day number 36, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll continue because I need to go to Dubai for an event at the end of the month, around 22nd. I think that's when I have the flight. So still around 2 weeks, 3 weeks until then. So easy to go with the series at least until 45 days. And after that, we'll see what I will be sharing. Maybe some kind of vlog from Dubai. I'm not sure. We'll see about that. But that's pretty much it for today. And hope you took something away from it, as always. And if you have anything to comment, you can do it down below. If you want to like it, you know the drill. And those are pretty much the only 2 things. I don't really need you to share it, because, like I mentioned in a previous video, actually, it's pretty awkward to share videos randomly. So that's it for today. And until next time, peace out.